everyone, welcome to Sunday Nights with Faye Seidler. It's me, Faye Seidler, your host. It's Sunday night. We're here to talk about some news, like always. Starting off with some fun general news. The League of Women Voters is urging equal rights amendment. Everyone deserves equal rights, in my opinion. Human rights are pretty cool. So if you want to look at ways you can get involved and advocate for that amendment to take place, please follow the link on my weekly report because there's a lot of good work being done by the League of Women Voters to empower largely everyone to have a voice and equal rights. Another story I want to talk about is a man has recently visited every incorporated town in North Dakota for his book. They're not from North Dakota. I don't have their state in front of me as I talk about this story, but it was 355 different incorporated towns that this person visited, which is really cool, I think. I think it does more for our state than pretty much anything else. I think it's really cool to show all of it. Rumor is that they took like tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pictures, so it'll be cool to see all of our state being represented. Theater B, a local theater company that offers quite a lot of community involvement and opportunities for new actors, directors, or writers, has welcomed a lot of new people to their team. I have it on my little picture here, but check that out. If you are interested at all in theater, it's one of the best companies I think that's you can follow locally. They've been around for over 20 years and they have a very strong commitment to community. I really love the work that they do. I want to talk about some opportunities coming up. The Bush Fellowship will be opening September 17th and will be open until October 15th. The Bush Fellowship is an opportunity. It's a very easy opportunity to apply for a leadership grant. Effectively, for the cycle, there's $150,000 that you could be awarded, as well as a lot of connection to leadership training and development through the Bush Foundation as part of being a Bush Fellow. I've known quite a few fellows over the years, and it has been instrumental for a lot of them to really take their leadership to the next level, not just through the leadership training and investment and money that can really help allow you to pursue different goals, but the connections you get to a lot of the power structures that exist in Minnesota as well as this regional area. It's a prestigious award. It is something that can really change lives, and it's free to apply. If you are over 24 and are in the Midwest and you consider yourself a community leader of any kind, I recommend applying. I applied for several years, and even though I wasn't selected, rethinking or thinking about my leadership and my goals over those years really allowed me to see how I advanced as a leader just through doing my own work. So it was valuable for me just applying, and it would be valuable for you as well if you just apply for it and just kind of use that as your benchmark every year to see where you grow as a leader. Other opportunity is Dakota Outright is looking for artists for their new logo. This is going to be open for quite a while. I don't know the deadline, but I think the announcement is going to be next year. So if you're an artist who is local to North Dakota, you are able to submit to change their destiny, their art logo destiny. So that's an opportunity for our queer North Dakotans, our LGBTQ plus North Dakotans to participate in. I want to highlight some events coming up. First Link training. First Link is offering a lot of trainings coming up. I have some of them here, but there's actually more than just in this graphic. First Link is the center that answers our 988 crisis line, crisis and lifeline. They host trainings all of the time. Most of them are free. Some of them become free through investments, but they are the place to get trainings. They're the place to call if you are in a crisis and need someone to talk to. Coming up September 7th at 10 a.m., the Children and Family Wellness Fair is going to be happening. This is put on by the Foundation for Healthy North Dakota, and it is a great time for families and kiddos to get access to information about general health and wellness that we don't always pick up elsewhere in our life. There's a lot of things about nutrition, a lot of things about vaccinations that can be important for maintaining not just your health, but the health of the community that you exist in. So there's a lot of good information on general wellness in these events. A big conference coming up by the Health and Human Service Department will be the Behavioral Health and Children and Family Service Conference. That is something that is coming up September 16th. This is a pretty big conference with a lot of opportunities for professionals within behavioral health, children health, family services to gather, get information, resources, and CEUs. One of the bigger ones, so make sure if that's the field you work in to check it out. Not only can you get CEUs, but you can connect with peers who do similar work, and it's important for ourselves as professionals that help people to connect with other folks as our own avenues for resiliency in preventing secondary trauma or reducing some of the impacts of it. For my last event I want to talk about is understanding disabilities, visual impairments in the workforce or workplace. That is happening September 17th at 1:30 p.m. And it's an opportunity to look at some of the ways that disability can impact people in the workplace, focusing, as the name suggests, on visual impairment. But there are a lot of visible and invisible disabilities that can impact individuals that might need more help to thrive in their workplace. So this is a good opportunity to start to think about and consider those intersections as part of your workplace, especially if you're someone who's working within DEI. For my last segment, I'll be talking largely about queer news. Just a lot of things are happening lately. I'm going to go over them pretty quickly. We're going to start off with some terrible news and then move into some good news so we feel good about it, right? So Florida has quietly removed their LG Plus travel information from their website. Regardless of how awful states might be, there are queer individuals that live everywhere. There are communities that are everywhere. So even though Florida is very unsafe for a lot of people within the LG Plus community, there are still people in the LG Plus community there that have their own culture and networks and places you can visit. And it's unfortunate that Florida has effectively tried to erase that by removing them from their website, but that appears to be the case. In Missouri, they require proof of surgery or a court order to change gender IDs on driver's license, so making it much more difficult for individuals to have IDs that correctly identify who they might be. In Georgia, they've removed protections for trans people. There used to be anti-discrimination protections, I believe, from 2016, and they are no longer there, as they are ruling that it is completely okay to discriminate against transgender individuals. In Texas, they have blocked Texans from changing sex on driver's license, so you cannot do so. I don't know if that means if you've already done it, if your license will be renewed under the former sex that might have been on it. But as we think about what's happening within the Florida website, the Missouri requirements for IDs, or Texas, or the lack of protections in Georgia, we have to think about the 2025 session in North Dakota coming up, because what happens across the nation is what some of our lawmakers look at for what they would like to have happen here. Most of the legislation we saw in 2023 was just repeat legislation from places all across the nation, looking at stuff that had been successful elsewhere. So we typically have a pretty good idea what the 2025 session might look like if our lawmakers just continue to replicate some of the stuff they see within other states. In good news, though, a federal judge allowed a trans girl to play on the girls' team. This happened in New Hampshire, citing, in this particular case, this trans girl had never gone through an andronized puberty, so could not have any conceivable advantages, meaning that any removal of her participation would be only inherently discriminatory. Keep in mind, even with sporting bodies, high-level elite sporting bodies, they don't ban trans women. They ban trans women who have gone through andronized puberty. So at the medical level and through sport and science and research, we don't think there really is any advantage that trans women have, but there is no conceivable advantage they might have if they hadn't gone through an andronized puberty or testosterone dominant puberty. So discriminating against these trans girls is only discrimination by all of the science that we have. There's more to that conversation, obviously, but it shows that there are still constitutional rights that are upheld for trans individuals on occasion. To go over all those states pretty quickly, I want to just bring up the resource that Aaron in the Morning puts out. That is the Anti-Trans Legislative Risk Map. That's one where you can see how spicy Florida is. And this is a map that gives you a pretty clear indicator of where the culture might be within certain states. As I said earlier, that doesn't mean that there aren't queer people. Queer people exist in every community. Even a 100-person town probably has a couple of queer people, and even trans people who might live there. So keep that in mind, that as much as these places can be hateful or harmful, there are still queer folks that live in North Dakota, in Florida, everywhere. I like to bring up Aaron in particular because Aaron is actually going to be the keynote speaker at our LG Plus Summit happening in October. So you can get tickets to that right now at a $10 off discount, but I wanted to kind of segue those two things together. And also good news, given all the scary things that can happen that impact minority stress for our LG Plus population, with a lot of research pointing to that, There's a T for T trans support group that happens the first Thursday of every month in Fargo. There are other support groups across the state. If you need to find them, let me know and I will connect you to them. But that's coming up September 5th at 5 p.m. T for T trans support group in Fargo. And then last thing I want to talk about within queer news is that Harbor Health Initiative put out a trans surgery guide. That's me. I kind of did that. I work at Harbor Health Initiative. However, a question I get as an LG Plus care coordinator quite often is how does surgery work? And the guide is to show you basically the overarching ideas of what happens in the process. Every person's going to be a little bit different with their circumstances, access to support or income, insurance, the surgeries they want, the doctors who can offer it. There's no way you can make a guide that will help everyone in every circumstance. So it's a general guide to let you know basically how the process typically works for no matter what you're doing. So that is now live. That is now on our Harbor Health Initiative website. So that's what I have for our opening news. We're going to be moving into two stories. The first one is about parent and youth support. And there is a content warning that the story is featuring a lot of topics on suicide in trauma for youth. And then I'm going to be doing a shorter story on the camping ordinance in Fargo, because you will have an opportunity, if you so choose, to submit feedback to our city government about what we should be doing about the camping ordinance. So that's what I have tonight. Thank you for joining me. I hope you find the show educational, informational, inspiring. I don't know. I hope you find it something. I hope you're not sitting there going, yes, this is a show. For this story, I'm going to be talking largely about kind of parent and youth support, both of those things. Something that we kind of lose in the conversation is we often talk about how to support youth, but we don't always reflect on how when youth struggle, most parents struggle too. The secondary trauma you can experience when your kiddo is not doing well because of bullying or other issues in their life is tough to deal with. And I don't think we really put a lot of space in the conversation for parents. So this is talking about a lot of those because there's just recently a hour-long video that is specifically parent to parent after your child's suicide attempt. I'm not an expert in all of this, and I'm probably not going to talk about it with the competence I would like, but I think that there are a lot of parents who, when that happens and your child has had an attempt or you've lost a child to this, it is so tough to live with the guilt of, I have failed my kid. There's a lot of feelings and emotions that can happen, but oftentimes you have to remember suicide is multifactorial. It's complex. There are 1,000 things that can happen where you will never have had a chance to help someone because one person can't make that change. Every story is complicated and different and nuanced, but often we do need to give ourselves more kindness in these spaces because none of us operate from a lens of being perfect. We all operate the best that we can, and we often operate with a dash of information and an ounce of gumption, and it's mostly 99% shooting in the dark. We have no idea what we're doing. So this is a resource specifically for parents that are going through some of that trauma. I also want to share resources. There's a lot of resources around this now, not just that video, but a lot of ways to help support parents, especially when their youth is going through trauma or going through different things within their life. So I want you to know about that because we need to support parents, and I'm going to be starting a Safe Harbor project through Harbor Health Initiative in September. And that's a project looking to support our LG Plus youth to make them as safe as possible. But that project recognizes that a lot of parents are struggling too. And if I'm not helping parents and schools and social workers and communities, I'm not helping queer youth. So this is something that's going to be a bigger part of my work going forward under my work with Harbor Health Initiative. There's also just good resources on what's going on with your child if they're experiencing trauma or signs to look out for that you as a parent can access, especially if you feel like your kid is distancing themselves or not being as communicative about some issues, or ways to make sure that you are having conversations in an inviting way that makes them want to open up. There are a lot of resources to look at around this. And there's also resources just like maybe your kid's doing fine. Like let's get off that trauma for a second and say your kid is doing fine. That's good. Hopefully most kids are, but let's make sure they keep on doing fine. So there are back to school health resources for the North Dakota families that have been put out. There's a story on that here, but what they recommend is a lot of different things, but one of the biggest one is Parents Lead. This is an organization I've been kind of promoting for the last couple of years. I loved hearing about them when I first did. I think it was about 3 years ago, and I reached out. I'm like, this is so cool. I would love to share all this stuff. So Parents Lead is just like that one-stop shop for everything you need as a parent to get that support you might not have anywhere else. Like some people have no real access to parenting classes, or they have so much going on, and every kid's unique that you just need more help. So Parents Lead is a way to get that help. Outside of these ideas, there's also support that you can get. One of the things I want to highlight is Raven's Mom. That is a support for survivors of suicide loss, specifically parents who have lost their LG plus youth. If you're looking at survivors of suicide loss broadly, there's TEARS, which is out of Grand Forks and works all across the state. But there are groups, not just Raven's Mom and TEARS, but there's support everywhere. You don't be alone if you are dealing with a situation where your kid isn't doing well. You need to take care of yourself so you can take care of your kid. And there's a lot of ways to try to do that, and a lot of different ways it can play out. Last thing is that there are also child and adolescent partial hospitalization programs available, because sometimes that's what a kid needs. I don't think there are ever right answers with any of this, and every family is kind of complex, and there's a lot of dynamics that go on. So I just really try to keep some core ideas in mind. If you're struggling, try to reach out. Everyone needs help. No matter what's going on, try to be kind to yourself. I know kid and parent dynamics can always be rough, even in the best of times. And I just want you to know that it's okay to be kind to yourself in these circumstances. We don't have all the answers, we do our best. Another cool thing happening is in Minot, there is a Q space opened up. This is specifically for queer youth. So parents of LG plus youth who need their youth to have support in community. So some of those resiliency factors that can help protect against suicide, there are options for that. I'm kind of focusing a little bit on families in general and LG plus youth, since that tends to be the focus of my work. But this really is message broadly to all parents. If we want to make sure our queer youth, or youth in general, are doing well, it means making sure parents are doing well and have the resources and support that they need. So that's what I have for you for this segment. I just kind of really just a shout out and a reminder to, if you're a parent, just remember to be kind to yourself. There are resources for you, and one way or another, we keep on trying to get to tomorrow. So if you ever need help finding or connecting these resources, just let me know. If you have been following politics within our Fargo community, you will know that the big conversation that's happening right now is a resolution as well as an ordinance that are impacting individuals experiencing homelessness in our communities. There have been a ton of think pieces on this, a lot of really good reporting, some not so good perspective pieces from some individuals, and altogether just a lot of conversation, a lot of feeling, and sometimes not the best information about either the ordinances, the resolutions, why they came about, or what we're doing with them. So I would like to invite folks who care about this topic to watch a video. There's a 5-minute or a 17-minute, a longer video, where the folks behind me are the folks who work on our harm reduction division and work directly with our population who's experiencing homelessness. These are a lot of the individuals who I believe probably helped craft some of the ordinance to make sure that it would be as equitable as possible and as harm reductive as possible, to create resources for individuals to try to help them get into housing while minimizing the harm of trying to relocate them. So I invite watching that, and you will have another opportunity happening tomorrow morning at 10:30. They are doing a live broadcast from Gladys Ray Shelter, specifically talking again about what this ordinance is supposed to do, what the resolution's doing, why they are doing it, the impact they're hoping to have with it, and trying to demystify the ways that what we are doing within our Fargo community for responding to individuals experiencing homelessness is different than what other communities have tried. I don't have the full knowledge of this, and I've talked about it a lot, and I try to really steer people to the folks who are experts, such as the FM Coalition to End Homelessness, because they're the ones who know what's going on. They know what's going to work, they know what's not going to work, they know where compromises need to be made. So any feeling I have about this doesn't matter, because I will refer to the folks doing the work, and I think it's important that we do that. And it's important to get a wide perspective on this. There's been a lot of, like I mentioned, great reporting showing the experiences of people who are unhoused and living in our community. And it's important to get a full perspective on this. I recommend following the video that is shared in my weekly report. I recommend checking in either tomorrow at 10:30 to watch their live coverage on just facts and fictions on this. And they will record it so you can watch it later if you don't catch it. And if you are inclined to do so, you right now can voice your concerns about any of this to our city government. There is a forum that is open until tomorrow. I don't know if it's tomorrow night or tomorrow morning that the cutoff is, but if you're watching the show Sunday nights live with me, you have the amazing opportunity right now to watch their video, then have feelings, and then write those feelings down and submit them to our government. And you can do that. That's a thing that you can probably do. I don't know why anyone couldn't do that. So that's an opportunity. I don't think there are right answers ever. I think we do the best that we can in any given situation. But following the folks who are on the ground doing the work is what I will default to. If they disagree with me, I am wrong. Like, that's how I feel about it. The nuance of this conversation is longer than I want to do in a single show or a single night. But if you're interested at all in this work and helping individuals experiencing homelessness, I cannot recommend enough following the FM Coalition to End Homelessness. They are the ones doing this work, and they could use volunteers, they could use funding, they could use support. The stronger you can advocate and broadcast their voice, the better everyone is going to do in this conversation. So that's what I have on that. That's what I have for my night. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me for my show. It's so hot right now. I look forward to the winter. Comment if you too would like it to be winter, and then we can complain about the cold together. Welcome back when that happens. Good night for now. Well, thank you everyone for watching my show. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a good rest of your week. I hope we see you back here next week. Just want to give some thank yous to all the folks here who contributed to the show, who made it all a great time and informed us about the cool stuff they're doing. He will be my outro probably for a while until I choose to change it. You all have a good day. Bye.